My name is Roger Burnell. The company is Arnell Enterprises, Inc. We've been in business 53 and a half years. And we started as a real estate design, development, management company while I had a career in aerospace. So I started this on the side. When it got time for the Phenom 300, it was a pretty expensive plane. So saving taxes at that point was not only very important, it was critical. Without that tax saving, with the numbers being that high, you could have a financial collapse that you weren't budgeting for or predicting. And so if you're a big company or an airplane company and you have planes moving and coming in and out, that's one thing. But if you're a small entrepreneurial company, if you're a pilot, you fly your own plane, sometimes you fly Part 91, and sometimes more often you're flying 135 as a corporate charter arrangement. Now you buy a $10 million plane, you're watching all the budgetary and tax factors like a hawk. And the biggest and first is your California sales tax. And if you don't have that carefully pre-planned, you might as well not play in this rodeo, because your horse isn't going to win. We got our first letter from the state of California that we had qualified for zero tax. I had at least three conflicting but cooperative emotions come to the surface at the same time. One was, holy Christmas, these people kept their word. Number two was, holy Christmas, how did they do that? How is it possible that there's a program available, especially in a progressive state like California, always anxious to make money off people, where they give you back money or they exempt you from having to send money when the numbers aren't small? I mean, the first plane, it was in the neighborhood of $100,000. The second plane, it was in the neighborhood of 3 times that. And the last plane, it was in the neighborhood of 8 times that. You're talking about big dollars. I scratched my head and I said, there must be something wrong here. I'm going to get another letter saying, sorry, we made a mistake. Here's your real tax bill. How can Tom do this? How can he get away with it? Why wouldn't they shut him down? The government, especially the federal government, is notorious for shutting down anything that's a good tax exemption or a good tax relief. The biggest surprise is that they can legally help you accomplish such an amazing savings, and there's nothing wrong with it or odd about it or suspicious about it that requires a grand jury investigation. It's totally supported legally by all the powers that be, and it's amazing to me that it's a pretty well-kept secret. It's not until you need such a thing that you get referred to a party like Tom and his team, and then you start with the normal suspicion that nothing can be this good. And so the whole first 6 months, you're saying, I'm going along with this, but it's too good to be true, and there's going to be a surprise. So the second emotion was there was no surprise. So you're left with, well, I guess I'm going to get that letter in another 6 weeks. The state's going to write me and say that, no, there's been an oversight. And so the second hallelujah was when 6 months later, the state wasn't bugging us to say they made a mistake, that this was real, and it had legs, it was lasting. I was more than surprised that Julie and Tom and team were available 24/7. I was amazed that they weren't sending bills for all the extra communications when they were necessary and when they came up, because they're professionals. Their time is obviously very valuable and important. And yet they weren't going cling, cling, cling and counting the dimes dropping in the machine like an attorney and accountant do every time you talk to them. And yet they're providing you services as important, if not more important, than your accountant and your attorney. And once again, it's like a free gift, pennies from heaven. What did I do to deserve this? And how come they haven't shut it down yet? I would and do recommend Aero Marine Tax Professionals to anybody and everybody that I meet at conferences, at aviation events, and on the ramp, and at the airports, and in the lobbies and lounges, just to make sure that the statistically probable case of their never hearing about Tom and Julie and their team, that would have been the case with me if I hadn't had the original introduction, is more likely than not. Although I've not gone out and done any statistical, data gathering, and I will say again that I personally, in some 10 years now of moving through these three planes, have not heard of another company that operates like they do, that does what they do, that has the well-regarded reputation that they have, that takes their business so personally seriously that they treat people like their friends at first and like their family at second, and they don't charge for that part of the relationship. It's like the family restaurant in Boston that we heard about when I was growing up, that one day, if you're lucky, you'll get to go there, where the owner is always walking back and forth, greeting the people at the table and checking back in the kitchen to see what's going on. And the wife is always answering the phone and greeting people at the front door. And to them, it's not a livelihood, it's their life. And that was the tradition in Boston, family-owned restaurant businesses. We've lost a lot of that in America. And the Alstons are a family-owned, family-dedicated service for which there's a minimum charge to keep the lights on. But there's a deeper commitment that they have to doing something really important for people that they may otherwise not know about and might miss. And they are driven by an internal commitment to doing good in this category like none other.